Section 11A's the final embers of the fire glow like a cluster of drowsy red eyes. Anwar leans forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. The most valuable secrets, he says, were never in the text. He picks up a hefty codex from the chest, its cover worn smooth by countless hands. With a deft click of a hidden catch, a section of the thick wooden board that forms the back cover pivots outward, revealing a shallow, perfectly crafted compartment. It's empty now, but the impression of what was once stored there is clear, a small, tightly rolled scroll. This was how the most sensitive information traveled, hidden in plain sight. Mercantile maps detailing new tax-free routes, letters between deposed princes plotting their return, the true identities of spies moving between courts, all of them slipped into the very thing that was supposed to be proclaiming its contents to the world. The book wasn't just a repository of knowledge. It was a smuggler's tool, a Trojan horse of information. You think of the countless chests like this one, passing through countless checkpoints. Their hidden cargo completely undetected by guards who might riffle the pages, but never think to weigh the cover in their hands. A popular historical concept is the use of ciphers and invisible inks, but this was a far more brazen and physical form of secrecy. And here's a fantastically odd fact. To throw off suspicion, the most effective hiding places were often in the most boring books. A dense theological commentary on a minor point of law was a far better bet for smuggling than a thrilling epic poem, because who would ever want to read it? The covers of soporific religious texts became the preferred diplomatic pouches of the medieval world. Historians still fiercely debate how widespread this practice was, with some arguing that most secret compartments found in old books were later additions, while others believe we've only uncovered a fraction of the messages that were successfully delivered. As Anwar closes the hidden compartment with a soft snick, the codex reverts to its appearance as just another old book. But you now see it for what it is, a silent accomplice to 1,000 forgotten intrigues, its most important story forever missing from its pages. Section 12 Anwar's story of the hidden compartment fades, replaced by a heavier silence, one that speaks of a more final kind of loss. He tells of another caravan, not his own, but one led by a rival librarian merchant named Yusuf. Yusuf's library was legendary, specializing in the medicinal lore of the distant Indian subcontinent, remedies and procedures unknown anywhere else. His chest was said to be lined with sandalwood and filled with texts written on a unique thick paper made from mulberry bark, resistant to both insects and humidity. They were on the final, most arduous leg of their journey, crossing the Taklamakan desert. The name, Anwar murmurs, translates roughly to place of ruins, or more ominously, you go in, you don't come out. The sky, which had been a flawless blue, began to change. A faint tawny smudge appeared on the horizon, growing with terrifying speed into a towering, roaring wall of ochre dust. A Karaburan, a black sandstorm. There was no outrunning it. Yusuf's last act, according to the soul, half-mad survivor who stumbled into a caravanserai weeks later, was to lash himself to the cedar chest containing his library, as if his own body could serve as its final anchor. It was a noble, futile gesture. The storm swallowed them whole. When it passed, there was nothing. No bodies, no bones, no scraps of cloth. Just endlessly shifting dunes, already erasing any sign of their passage. A popular historical event that echoes this is the well-documented peril of the Taklamakan, which has claimed countless travelers and their treasures across the centuries. But here is a haunting, lesser-known fact. The specific type of paper Yusuf used, made from mulberry bark, is so durable that historians believe his library could, in theory, still be intact. Somewhere deep beneath the sands, the mulberry paper pages might still be legible, the sandalwood lining still scenting the air in a perfectly sealed, dark and silent tomb. Historians and archaeologists still debate the most likely locations for such a find, using old caravan routes and storm patterns to guess where Yusuf's library might have finally come to rest. The story ends not with an answer, but with a question mark etched across hundreds of square miles of desert. The knowledge isn't burned or torn. It's just waiting, a buried thought in the mind of the dunes. Section 13. The fate of Yusuf's library hangs in the air, a ghost at the edge of the firelight. But Anwar, ever the pragmatist, brings the story back to what remains. He opens a small, plain wooden box within his larger chest. Inside, nestled on a bed of raw silk, are not books but fragments, a brittle corner of parchment, with 3 lines of elegant calligraphy, a torn piece of paper showing the edge of a painted illustration, just a horse's hoof and a splash of blue that might have been a river. A single illuminated letter B that gleams with faded gold leaf. These are the orphans of the Silk Road, the survivors of libraries that were not lost to sand, but to time, neglect, and the simple, brutal physics of travel. This is the work that continues, he says, not on the road, but in the quiet studies of scholars who will never feel a camel's gait. Their monumental task is one of reassembly, a planetary-scale jigsaw puzzle, with most of the pieces missing forever. They painstakingly analyze the fiber of the paper, the chemical composition of the ink, the style of the script, trying to match a fragment from a dig in Egypt with one found in a tomb in Western China. A popular historical endeavor you might recognize is the work on the Dead Sea Scrolls, where fragments from thousands of manuscripts had to be sorted and pieced together. But here's a strange and tedious fact. One of the most crucial tools in this process is sometimes a simple bright light. Scholars will backlight a fragment, and the unique pattern of laid and chain lines from the paper mold, like a fingerprint for the paper, can sometimes be the only clue to connect it to another piece halfway across the world. Historians still fiercely debate the ethics and methods of this work. Should a fragment be physically reattached to another, or is it better to use digital means? Is it right to fill in the missing gaps with speculative text? As you look at the lonely golden bee, you realize that each fragment is a question. It's a whisper of a story, and the scholars listening in their quiet rooms are trying to hear the rest of the sentence from 1,000 years away. Section 14. The fire is now just a soft, pulsing glow of embers, and the night feels immense around your small circle. The story of the fragments leads Anwar to his final, most subtle point. The nomadic libraries, he says, did not truly vanish. They underwent a metamorphosis. When the physical books were lost, to sand, to fire, to decay, the knowledge they held had already seeped into the very soil of the root. It went underground, not in a literal sense, but into the cultural bedrock. You can hear its echoes, he insists, if you know how to listen. That melody the camel driver was humming earlier. Its scale is based on a musical theory written down in a Persian treatise that traveled this road 500 years ago. The pattern your fingers unconsciously trace in the dust? It's a derivative of a geometric design from a lost Byzantine textile manual. The very structure of the stories the elders tell in the villages you pass. The clever orphan who outwits the king. The 3 impossible tasks. These are narrative blueprints that were carried, revised and retold from one end of Eurasia to the other. The library became invisible, its catalogue now written in the cadence of languages, the recipes for food, the steps of a dance, the superstitions about the wind. The popular historical concept is the idea of the Silk Road as a conduit for cultural diffusion, but this is the intimate, personal scale of that phenomenon. It's the ghost in the cultural machine. And here is a beautifully odd fact. The tradition of the shadow puppet theatre, which flourishes from Greece to Indonesia, is believed by some scholars to be a direct, living descendant of the illustrated stories that once traveled in chests like Anwar's, the images literally stepping off the page and becoming moving silhouettes told by firelight, just like this. Historians still debate the precise pathways of these cultural migrations, trying to trace a folk tale from India to Ireland, or a musical mode from Baghdad to Beijing. As you sit in the quiet, you understand that the great lost nomadic library never intended to be collected on a shelf. Its goal was to become part of the air, a shared inheritance breathed in by everyone who lives along this ancient, whispering road. Section 15. The fire is gone, leaving only a faint, warm scent of ash in the cool air. Anwar has fallen silent, his stories spent. The great cedar chest is closed, its brass fittings cool to the touch. The caravan around you is asleep, a constellation of soft, regular breaths beneath a sky that has turned from black to the deep, velvety indigo that promises the dawn is still hours away. There is no more history to be told tonight, no more grand revelations or lost libraries to unearth. There is only this quiet, this profound peace that settles over the desert after all the stories have been told. The journey of the nomadic libraries is over, their pages scattered, their words dissolved into the culture, their chests buried or repurposed. But in this silence, you can feel their legacy not as a thing of the past, but as a living, breathing presence. It's in the very fact that you, lying here in the darkness, half a world and a millennium away, can somehow feel connected to a Sogdian merchant or a storyteller named Leon. The threads they spun on looms of parchment and memory are still woven into the fabric of our world, faint but unbroken. The relentless, desperate, beautiful human urge to share what we know, to pass it on, to ensure that a recipe for glue or a map of the stars survives just one more journey, that urge never died. It just found new camels, new roads, and as you lie there, the camel's gentle, rhythmic breathing beside you becomes a lullaby, the soft sigh of the wind through the dunes a whispered benediction. The stars, those ancient, silent witnesses to all of it, begin to blur at the edges of your vision. There is no more to learn tonight, no more to remember, just the slow, steady pull towards dreams, where perhaps the shadows of those lost libraries still stand, their shelves stretching into the soft, forgiving darkness, waiting, always waiting, for a curious traveler to finally come and rest. The final whispering echo of the caravan's bell has faded. The indigo sky above you is softening at its eastern edge, not with the sharp, demanding light of day, but with the gentlest hint of pearly grey, a promise that the night will hold for a little while longer. Your breathing has slowed to match the sleeping rhythm of the world around you. The stories of merchants and scholars, of hidden compartments and storms of sand, are no longer separate tales to be analysed, but have blended together into a single, soothing tapestry behind your eyes. The weight of the knowledge, the frantic race against time and the elements, has lifted, leaving behind only a deep, resonant calm. You understand now that the true purpose of these libraries was never to be perfect, permanent monuments. It was to be a relay, a torch passed from one hand to the next in the dark, and the fact that you can hear these echoes now in the quiet of your own mind is proof that the flame never went out. The frantic energy of the journey is gone, replaced by the profound peace of arrival. There is no more need to listen for the details, no need to hold on to the names and the dates. Let them go. Let them drift like the last wisp of smoke from the long-dead fire. The desert is quiet. The camels are still. The stars are gently receding, their brilliant, sharp points becoming soft and dreamy. Your eyelids are heavy, so heavy, and the boundary between the cool desert air and the warmth of your blankets is dissolving. You are safe. You are still. The journey is over. The story is done. Let the silence, deep and soft as velvet, carry you the rest of the way. End of script. Sweet dreams.